Today I'm going to show you my approach when EQing huge ass high gain live tones. Recently I got a couple of questions regarding the preset packs which you can get from me. As you may know, I'm offering preset packs for most of your beloved high gain units, and you know them maybe from my videos. If you would like to get one of these, please contact me in Instagram, Facebook Messenger, or of course OnlyFans. But today I would like to show you some tricks how you can use these presets in a live situation. And for that purpose I'm using the Valeton GP200. And currently I'm playing a preset from my upcoming preset pack for this unit, which is a rock preset pack, where I'm creating maybe 80s rock tones, martialish kind of tones or crunch tones. A nice addition if you already got my high gain pack. But yeah, so this is my preset which I'm currently working on. Let me turn off the delay. And yeah, that is kind of a martialish tone, I think, with a modulation effect here. By the way, the choruses in this unit, they're well, not that comfortable, as you can see here. You cannot adjust anything except changing the mode. But I got the best results putting the chorus in front of the distortion here. At least for these 80ish crunch tones. Anyway, so let's see. If you have a guitar tone, maybe consisting of a distortion block, an amp block, a cap block. Sounds nice to me already. And for a good live tone, I would start by disabling the reverb, disabling the delay, and yeah, basically just start with the noise gate and the amp and the cap section. So no distortion. And of course your favorite amp models. From my preset packs, if you're using presets from my preset packs, of course you have to disable all the other blocks because usually they're engaged. Anyway, so let's see. If we have maybe we want to have a Marshall rock tone, so the UK800 would be maybe an amp of choice. You should make sure that it sounds nice to your ears, well rounded, also the cap. So I would recommend just to keep the amp and the cap adjustments from my preset pack. If you want to get more distortion and you cannot get this out of the amp, because this amp model doesn't have a lot of distortion, maybe use a distortion block in front of the amp. And that is the first advice I would give you. Choose this distortion block carefully. My preset packs, they're always chosen for the amp they're using. My approach is always, if I would like to get more saturation out of the amp without getting anything, well, harshness or anything more bass frequencies, then I'm choosing the tube screamer or something like that, like here the green OD. And here you can see my settings. The thing is, this is basically pushing the mids. So you don't do anything wrong with these except getting more saturation out of the amp. Usually you will get a little bit of more mids in the overall tone. So what I usually do is I'm using the tube screamer. I'm thinking that I have to remove some mids after the cap block. And for that purpose, I'm using the EQ, which I will come to in a second. There's another distortion block which I use sometimes. If I need a little bit more distortion, then I'd recommend to use maybe the Boss Super Overdrive. This is raising a wider spectrum of the frequencies, but it can get harsh. And also it may result in a too bass heavy tone. So I will really use this only with amps which really don't have that much gain. Like for example the JCM800 or the Plexi. I wouldn't use it with, for example, the PV or the Rector. But if you would like to have a fatter, more maybe soft lead tone, then I'd recommend to choose a Tube Screamer or the Green OD in this case. So that is the first trick. So choose this overdrive block carefully. And also if you have too much harsh frequencies, which is especially audible in your in-ear monitoring system, I would recommend to play around with the distortion block here, because the reason can be that you are using a distortion block which has too much top end. So that is important. And the other very important thing, of course, is the EQ section, which is basically what I use to adjust the tone to the environment. And let's engage the EQ. As I said, I'm using the Green OD. So what I usually do then is, depending on the overall amp sound, I'm dialing out some mids. And I'm choosing the 10-band EQ here because there I can explain what the different frequencies are doing. So basically what I'm removing usually is something around the 1K, because that is the region, maybe a little bit below, like 800 Hertz, which the Tube Screamer is boosting. Maybe we can need a little bit more gain here, so let's raise the volume. Okay, so I'm reducing this. And here, if you play around with that, maybe you can also hear which frequency is affected. What is also affected by this 1K fader is the, as I call it, the scratchiness. So if you have too much percussive sound, like the scratchiness which you need maybe for chugging, the chugging tone, if you will, that is usually around the 1K, and that can be annoying if you're playing in loud volumes. So for example, if you would like to get a more singing Petrucci-ish lead tone, I recommend to play around with the 1K fader. Dial that out. You may get lost a little bit easier in the mix. But on the other hand, of course, if you remove these frequencies in a very narrow bandwidth, you will just remove the scratchiness and you have this singing tone. If the bandwidth is too narrow, then maybe you should reduce the other bands a little bit. So maybe here you can hear it. It always depends on your EQ, how it's implemented. But usually removing the 1K a little bit, especially if you're boosting with the Tube Screamer, is a good idea. And you don't have this annoying, scratchy tone in a live situation. So 1K is a very important fader for me always when I'm adjusting my live tone. Also very important is of course the low and the high cut. usually you can apply a low cut. I'd recommend around the maybe 100 Hertz. And the highs, I'm usually cutting around 6K. Try that out. You can start with that and just raise it a little bit here, the high cut, if you really need more more definition in the tone. It can be the case if maybe the slope here is too drastically, which is implemented in the high cut. But with the EQ, which I'm using in my Mooer effect, yeah, usually it's around 6K. And with most of my modeling units, I end up using this high cut. Low cut around 100 Hertz, same with that. The slope is too drastically, maybe you could lower it a little bit. So that would be maybe the first thing which I do. But the other thing is, of course, everything in between has to be evenly leveled out. So the frequencies in between 100 Hertz and maybe 6K. And the first thing is, as I said, start with the 1K, remove the scratchiness if there's too much, because this is adding a lot of saturation in this region. And one mistake, which is or a common misconception, is that the scratchiness is coming from higher frequencies like 4K or something like 3K. That's not the case. It's really around this 1K, which I found out in a live situation, and I was very impressed. Suddenly I just removed the 1K, and then there was this huge ass Patricia tone. Anyway, another thing is, a lot of people seem to have problems with the lows. And if you're cutting below the 100 Hertz, the lows are maybe the lower mids, actually, so around maybe the 250 Hertz. So I would start to remove these. They can really get annoying in a loud situation. If you're playing at home, you get a fat tone, but in a live situation that doesn't translate that well. So in most cases, I tend to reduce these frequencies in a live situation. But of course, these are only my advices. You have to find out the right frequencies. You can end up maybe lowering the 400 Hertz if it's a little bit higher in your situation, depending on your amp and guitar. But lower mids, usually 250 Hertz or 400 Hertz, they are very important maybe to reduce, and then you get rid of the flubbiness. So 1K for this scratchiness, 250 Hertz, 400 Hertz for the lower mids, if it's too bass heavy. And the other frequencies are basically the 4K. They're good for cutting through the mix. If you have a very busy mix and you want to cut through, especially when playing solo lines or something, you can use the 4K, but I recommend to be careful with this, because that can get really annoying for the listener. But for distorted guitars, it's basically it ends here in my situation. The 8K is more or less needed only for acoustics, maybe, or if you really need some more definition, so to speak. But usually I don't touch that. What I sometimes do is, if my high cut is not working alone, maybe I'm applying a shelf filter, or I think it's called a shelving filter. So starting maybe with 6 or 7K, and then it's just maybe removing or reducing these frequencies, starting there about maybe 3 dB. And these faders here, the 2K for example, this is maybe the punch, which I would raise in this sound a little bit. Maybe not that much. yeah, so this is a very powerful fader, but I'd recommend to not overdo it with this. Usually maybe boosting around 3 or 4 dB is really enough, which is a lot, especially depending on the cue. Reducing it, I'd recommend to do it really by ear, but when boosting frequencies, just keep an eye on what you're doing, because usually if you are listening at low volumes, it doesn't appear to be that drastic, but at higher volumes it can be really annoying. The 3K would be the region which is which you need maybe for chugging or for riffage, if you don't want to have the scratchiness, but a little bit more maybe edge, I would say. You don't have this fader here. It's also not that important. I don't boost or reduce this in a live situation usually. So the frequencies which I address are basically here in the lower mid region, 250 Hz, 400 Hz, and the 1K. And yeah, then maybe the upper frequencies like above the 6K with a high cut or with a sharp filter. So that is what I do to adjust my presets to the environment or to the front of house system. And of course I'm doing this with a tone without reverb and delay. If I listen to this, maybe I would also reduce the lows a little bit more. So I think this would be maybe a good starting point for a live tone, or maybe it will work like it is. So let's save this, that you will get it with the upcoming preset pack. Of course I will try that out with at loud volumes. Sounds maybe not that spectacular if you're playing at home, but that is always the case. The live sound is really different from the studio tone. So let's check out one tone from my preset pack. So that is a preset which I'm selling in the preset pack. And immediately, that's what you can hear, that there's way more bass frequencies. So let's try our tricks here. Apply the low cut first. Already better. Also let's set our high cut around maybe 6K. The slope seems to be a little bit too drastic, so here we can leave it maybe at 7 or 8. Let's turn that off. It's very saturated. I'm using the OD9 here. And yeah, let's go to the EQ section. I'm using the 5-band graphic EQ here. Okay, maybe we could try that. Let's reduce the lower mids. Too much. By the way, finding the right EQ for your application is also very important. Usually these modeling units, they come with some different EQs, and some are working, some are not working with your amp sound. I rather recommend to choose these EQs carefully before starting to tweak. Here we don't have the 1K, just the 800 Hz. Might be a little bit too low, so let's choose another EQ. Here we have the 1K. Okay. Yeah, let's choose the beloved 10-band EQ here. Also, what I'm sometimes doing is, if I'm reducing here these frequencies, I'm adding a little bit of the frequencies in between. But in this case, I wouldn't do that. I'd rather also add some. So this is basically my my shelving filter, which I would use usually if I would have the parametric EQ. So this, for example, sounds maybe really nice if you're recording, but in live situation that would be way too much frequencies. Maybe here you can hear this chugging frequencies, which can get annoying when playing loud. This may be too scoop, but if you leave them in, again, in a recording situation, that would be maybe nice to hear, but live, these are the frequencies which are annoying. Usually, if I end up with a tone which is too scooped, if I'm removing here the 1K, then I'm adding mids in general in a wider range, which can be done with either the maybe the middle here. If that is not addressing the 1K region, but a wider range. Maybe okay here, but I'd rather do it with a parametric EQ or with this fit here. To be honest, the EQs in this modeling unit are a little bit limited in my opinion. But I hope you get my idea what I'm doing Maybe we can save this if for the rock pack, but I would reduce a little bit of gain here. So yeah, that's it for today. Hope this helps you, but I will really focus on these things and maybe give you a little bit more usable live tones with the upcoming preset pack, because I got a lot of questions in this direction. And as I said, for recording it's a quite different thing. Maybe I'm also thinking about a preset pack just for recording, which would be way different from the others, and the one which I'm already offering is more like in between. You have to tweak it a little bit, as I showed you, if you want to use these presets live. But yeah, these are my my thoughts, and I think I end up always with a pretty nice live tone with all of these modeling units by applying these EQ tricks. Anyway, subscribe to my channel. Hope to see you soon. Goodbye.